There comes a moment when your presence stops being noticed, when your energy, once the heartbeat of someone's world, becomes background noise. You show up, you give, you listen, you love, and still, it feels like your light is being taken for granted. But here's the truth: the moment you're gone, that's when the difference is felt. That's when your absence starts to echo louder than your voice ever did. Because your energy, your warmth, your care, your attention was never ordinary. It was power disguised as kindness, and when that power leaves, the void it leaves behind can't be ignored. You see, energy is what connects people more deeply than words ever can. It's not just what you do, it's who you are when you walk into a room, when you speak with presence, when you give without keeping score. That energy is rare, and when it's gone, people begin to realize how heavy the silence feels without it. They start missing the laughter they once overlooked, the comfort they once dismissed, the peace that came effortlessly from your presence. But by then, you've already learned one of life's greatest truths: your energy doesn't belong where it isn't valued. When you walk away, it's not punishment, it's alignment. You stop offering your light to those who prefer the shadows. You stop pouring into cups that never fill yours. And in doing so, you teach the world a powerful lesson: that love without respect has no foundation, and presence without appreciation has no meaning. You don't have to explain your worth anymore. Your absence does that for you. Because the moment your energy is gone, everything dulls. The conversations feel empty, the laughter feels forced, the connection feels lifeless. That's when they remember what you truly brought, and that realization hits harder than any goodbye ever could. So when you step back, don't do it out of anger, do it out of peace. Do it because you've finally understood that your energy is currency. It's sacred. It builds, heals, inspires, and that kind of energy must be protected, not drained. When someone doesn't match that frequency, the universe will make sure distance becomes your teacher, and from that space you grow stronger, you evolve, you stop begging to be seen, and instead you become unmissable. Because the truth is, when you're gone, they don't just miss you, they miss the version of themselves that only existed when your energy was near. Your absence exposes their emptiness. Your silence reminds them of the balance your presence once brought. And while they're busy replaying memories, you'll be creating new ones, standing taller, glowing brighter, and moving toward people who feel you even when you're silent. Never forget this: you are not just a body in someone's story. You are energy, and energy that heals, uplifts, and inspires is unforgettable. So let them miss you. Let them remember what they couldn't hold on to. Because one day, they'll finally realize it wasn't you they lost. It was the light inside them that only your energy could ignite. Your energy is not just the sum of your actions. It's the invisible language that speaks before you ever say a word. It's the warmth in your tone, the calm in your presence, the fire in your conviction. People might forget what you said, but they never forget how your energy made them feel. It's your emotional signature, something only you can bring into a room. When you show up with genuine care, empathy, and strength, you shift the entire atmosphere. You become that grounding presence people lean toward when life feels uncertain. But here's the thing: when your energy is constantly available, people start to mistake it for normalcy. They forget that what feels peaceful and effortless around you is not random. It's the reflection of your inner stability and heart. Every person carries a vibration, a frequency that affects those around them. When your frequency is kind, patient, and uplifting, it has power. It heals without trying. It comforts without words. Yet many times people don't realize the impact of your energy while they're basking in it. They simply absorb it, unknowingly depending on it to balance their own chaos, and because you make it look so natural, they assume it's endless. They forget it takes emotional strength, compassion, and resilience to give the way you do. It's only when that frequency fades, when your presence no longer fills their space, that the truth hits: it wasn't the things you did that mattered most. It was the energy behind them. When you're gone, they begin to feel the difference. The comfort turns to emptiness, the ease turns to tension, the peace turns to silence. Your energy had become part of their emotional rhythm, and suddenly that rhythm is offbeat. They start to remember the calm you brought when they were anxious, the encouragement you offered when they were uncertain, and the lightness you carried even when things were heavy. It's in your absence that they realize your energy was never ordinary, it was rare. Because true energy, the kind that heals, motivates, and stabilizes others, doesn't come from words or gestures. It comes from authenticity. Your energy carries stories of what you've endured, what you've overcome, and what you've chosen to still believe in despite it all. That's why people feel it so deeply. You've been through darkness and still radiate light. You've been hurt and still choose compassion. You've been misunderstood and still offer kindness. That's why your presence changes the emotional climate of every space you enter. It's not because you're trying to be something special. It's because you already are. So when you step away, it's not just your physical absence that's felt, it's the withdrawal of an entire emotional ecosystem you used to sustain. They start to crave the very energy they once ignored. They realize that not everyone glows the way you do, not everyone listens with presence, and not everyone gives without condition. And that realization becomes the proof of how powerful your energy truly was, because only something real can be missed so deeply once it's gone. When you give endlessly, when you keep showing up, comforting, supporting, listening, and fixing, people begin to assume that your presence is a guarantee. They stop feeling the depth of your energy because it becomes a part of their daily comfort zone. Familiarity breeds blindness. The more they receive from you without effort, the more they forget what it took for you to give so much. And when you continue to pour yourself into spaces that never pour back, something sacred begins to fade: your own emotional balance. Presence without appreciation slowly drains your spirit. You start to feel invisible, not because you are, but because your consistency has become expected instead of valued. When your presence is always there, people stop asking themselves what life would feel like without it. They start assuming your light will always be available to brighten their world, no matter how carelessly they treat it. But the moment you step away, that assumption shatters. The silence becomes undeniable. The emotional temperature drops. That's when realization strikes: your energy was not a background sound, it was the melody. Your warmth was not something they were owed, it was a gift they stopped recognizing. Your patience, your empathy, your unwavering loyalty, all the things that once seemed normal, now reveal their true rarity. Human nature often struggles to appreciate abundance. When something or someone is always within reach, the mind unconsciously lowers its sense of urgency to value it. Gratitude fades and entitlement grows. That's why absence becomes such a powerful teacher. It shakes people out of emotional complacency. It wakes them up to the reality that energy is not infinite, that presence has a price, that emotional investment deserves reciprocity. Because when your energy withdraws, the void it leaves behind becomes undeniable proof of how much you once gave. The same people who once overlooked you start replaying every moment, every word, every small act of love they once took lightly. And you, the giver, the steady one, finally begin to see the pattern. You start realizing that love without appreciation becomes depletion, that being present in places that don't recognize your value is an act of self-neglect. You learn that the more you chase validation, the more invisible you become. So you stop, you step back, you let distance do what words couldn't, not to punish, but to restore balance, to remind both them and yourself that presence is sacred and it should never be wasted where it's not seen. Because appreciation is the oxygen of any relationship, and without it, connection suffocates. Your disappearance becomes the pause that restores the rhythm. It brings awareness back to both sides. They begin to remember that your energy was never ordinary, it was a stabilizing force, a quiet strength. And you begin to remember that your energy isn't something to prove, it's something to protect. Once that realization sinks in, everything changes. You stop begging to be valued, and instead you start living in a way that demands it, not through words, but through the absence that reveals your true worth. When you pull your energy back, something powerful begins to happen, not just around you, but within you. You start to notice how much of your peace was tied to other people's chaos. You realize that the weight you were carrying didn't always belong to you. So, when you choose to step back, it's not about punishment, rejection, or pride, it's about protection. You begin reclaiming your emotional space, and in that silence you rediscover your own frequency. The noise of other people's needs fades, and what remains is your own truth, the calm, grounded, unshakable essence that was always there beneath the exhaustion of overgiving. You see, energy flows where attention goes. When your energy is constantly directed outward, trying to heal, help, or fix others, it drains your inner battery. But when you stop feeding external fires, you start lighting your own flame again. You begin to reconnect with your core, your purpose, your boundaries, your voice. It's in that quiet distance that your energy begins to rebuild itself, becoming stronger, clearer, and more aligned. You start to realize that your worth was never tied to how much you gave. It was always in who you are when you're fully present with yourself. When you withdraw your energy, you also hold up a mirror to others. They begin to feel the absence of what they once relied on, the emotional stability you brought, the understanding that only you could give. That's when awareness hits, not because you demanded it, but because your energy spoke louder in silence than it ever did in words. Absence creates reflection. People start to see what they lost, not because you reminded them, but because they can now feel the void where your energy once anchored them. And for you, that's the moment growth begins. You realize you don't need to keep showing up everywhere to be valued. You learn the art of selective presence, choosing where to pour your light, where to invest your time, and who deserves access to your peace. You stop reacting to people's temporary emotions and start responding to your own long-term well-being. You no longer chase validation because you've learned that your energy has power and not everyone deserves to hold it. So, pulling back becomes less about walking away and more about walking home back to yourself. It's about remembering that your energy is sacred, not a resource to be drained, but a force to be honored. The ones who truly value you will notice, they will feel it, and they will respect it. The rest, they'll fade into the silence, revealing that they were only ever attached to what you gave, not who you are. And that's where your freedom begins, in the calm after the withdrawal, in the power of being missed not for your effort, but for your essence. When your energy leaves someone's life, it doesn't just create distance, it creates contrast. It exposes the difference between your presence and the emptiness that follows. They start to see what they once overlooked, the peace you brought, the stability you offered, the quiet strength that held everything together when things felt uncertain. It's not that you were trying to be their source of balance, it's that your energy naturally was. You carried calmness where they carried chaos. You brought light where they brought confusion. And when that light fades, they begin to realize how much of their emotional comfort was tied to your vibration. In your absence, things that once felt steady start to shake. Conversations lose warmth. Moments lose meaning. The connection they once took for granted now feels incomplete, like a song missing its rhythm. That's the thing about genuine energy, it's irreplaceable. You can find new faces, new interactions, even new relationships, but you can't replicate the energy of someone who showed up with authenticity. That energy has texture, it carries intention. It holds the invisible thread that makes people feel seen and safe at the same time. And when that thread disappears, the difference is unmistakable. Absence has a way of revealing truth. It removes the noise, the distractions, and the assumptions. When you're gone, people finally have the space to feel what your presence really meant. They begin to remember how you made things easier just by being there, how your words carried reassurance without you even trying. They remember how your laughter filled the room, how your energy calmed their storms, how your silence was never cold but comforting. They start replaying those small, seemingly ordinary moments, not realizing those were the moments that define the connection. And here's the beautiful irony: you never needed to prove your value. Your absence does it for you. Because real energy can't be mimicked. People can pretend to care, pretend to listen, pretend to love, but energy doesn't lie. The vibration of truth, of love, of empathy can't be copied. It can only be felt. When you walk away, that authenticity leaves with you, and those who once underestimated it suddenly find themselves searching for it everywhere, in new people, in old memories, in themselves, but they can't find it because it wasn't a thing you gave, it was who you were. That's when realization turns into reflection. They begin to understand that your energy was never something they could own, only something they were privileged to experience. It was a living, breathing force that lifted, healed, and nurtured quietly, powerfully, consistently. And the moment it's gone, the void it leaves behind becomes the most undeniable reminder of what they lost. It's in that void that they begin to miss you, not for what you did, but for how your energy made them feel grounded, inspired, and alive. When you disappear, something profound happens not just for them, but for you. You begin to see who truly valued your presence and who simply benefited from it. There's a difference between being loved and being needed, and sometimes you don't see that difference until you're gone. When you're always around, giving, caring, and supporting, people confuse access with appreciation. But the moment that access is gone, the reality becomes crystal clear. The ones who truly cared about your energy will miss it with sincerity. They'll feel the gap, not because you filled a void in their life, but because your presence genuinely added meaning to it. The others, the ones who only took, will be left frustrated not because they miss you, but because they've lost the emotional supply they depended on. That's the beauty of distance. It exposes truth without confrontation. You don't have to argue, prove, or explain yourself. Your silence becomes the teacher. People reveal their character in how they respond to your absence. Those who respected your energy will honor your space. They'll reach out with intention, not desperation. But those who are addicted to what you gave will react with confusion, guilt, or anger. They'll realize too late that your energy was never something to be consumed, it was something to be cherished. For you, this awakening is empowering. You begin to see your own worth not through the eyes of others, but through the peace that comes from detachment. You start to understand that your energy is not meant to be everywhere. It's meant to be where it's valued, where it grows, where it inspires. Disappearing doesn't mean giving up. It means realigning. It means reclaiming your power, your time, and your emotional balance. You stop explaining your silence because you finally understand that your energy doesn't need justification, it speaks for itself. And while they're out there missing the comfort of your presence, you're rediscovering the strength of your solitude. You start to rebuild your connection with yourself, your purpose, your dreams, your inner peace. You no longer feel guilty for walking away from people who couldn't meet you at the same energetic level, because you've learned that love without balance becomes a burden and connection without respect becomes a cage. So you release, you let go not out of bitterness but out of clarity. In time, your absence becomes your message. It says what words never could. I was never meant to be everywhere for everyone. I was meant to be whole even when I'm alone. That truth, once you embrace it, becomes your freedom. It allows you to stop shrinking your energy for those who don't understand it and to start radiating it for those who do. And as they miss what they once had, you'll realize something far greater. You were never the one losing anything. You are simply returning home to yourself. When your energy is no longer present, it creates a ripple not just in others, but in the entire emotional field you once touched. People begin to understand something they never noticed before. Your energy didn't just fill space, it transformed it. You brought a certain light, a balance, a rhythm that made things flow naturally. It's only when that rhythm is gone that they notice how much harmony you truly created. You see, the power of your energy isn't in how loud it is, but in how deeply it connects. You didn't force peace, you were peace. You didn't demand attention, your presence commanded it. That's why, when you disappear, the silence feels louder because your energy used to fill that silence with meaning. True energy has a signature, a frequency that only you carry. It's built from your values, your emotions, your resilience, and your experiences. That's what makes it impossible to replace. Others might try to fill the void you leave, but it never feels the same because energy that comes from authenticity can't be duplicated. It's the way you listened, the way you understood without judgment, the way your spirit brought calm even in conflict. That's what they start to miss, not your words, not your presence, but the way your energy made them feel safe to be themselves. What most people don't realize is that energy has memory. The spaces you once filled, the people you once touched, they carry fragments of your vibration. Long after you've gone, those fragments echo. They feel it in moments of stillness, in random memories, in the quiet times when they crave something familiar but can't define what it is. That's your energy reminding them that genuine connection isn't found often. And that realization doesn't fade quickly. It lingers, teaching them to value what they once overlooked. Meanwhile, for you, the withdrawal of your energy becomes a sacred reset. You start to see how powerful your vibration truly is. You learn that you don't have to force your worth into recognition, you just have to embody it. The people who resonate with your energy will naturally find you again. The ones who don't were never aligned to begin with. And that's the gift of your disappearance. It filters. It separates connection from attachment, truth from convenience, love from dependency. As your absence continues to echo, something beautiful unfolds. Not only do they start to miss your energy, but they start to understand it. They see that your light wasn't just something they enjoyed, it was something they learned from. Your energy becomes their silent teacher, showing them the value of respect, gratitude, and presence. And you emerge stronger, more centered, radiating even brighter, not because you needed to be missed, but because you finally understood that your energy was never meant to be given away carelessly. It was meant to be shared intentionally with those who recognize its depth, honor its presence, and never again take it for granted. When you take a step back and your energy fades from someone's life, it doesn't vanish, it reverberates. It lingers in memories, in moments, in the quiet spaces they once shared with you, and slowly they begin to realize that it was never about the conversations or the time spent together. It was always about the energy you carried. The energy that made them feel seen, grounded, and understood. Your disappearance becomes a mirror, reflecting what they once had but didn't value enough. It makes them understand that energy is the purest form of presence, invisible yet unforgettable. They begin to notice that without your vibration, their world feels a little colder, their days a little heavier. And that's when the truth strikes. You were never just another person in their life. You were the heartbeat they didn't know they depended on. In your absence, they don't just remember you, they remember how they felt around you. They remember the calm that replaced chaos when you spoke, the motivation that rose when you believed in them, the warmth that filled their emptiness when you cared. They start to understand that energy isn't something you can fake or replace. It's something you either have or you don't. The people who lose someone with genuine energy eventually realize they were standing next to a rare frequency, one that didn't just connect, but healed. That realization doesn't come quickly. It comes through silence, through moments when the noise of the world can't fill the emptiness you left behind. But while they remember, you evolve. Your disappearance isn't an ending, it's a transformation. You begin to rise in your own light, free from the expectations and emotional drain that once kept you small. You stop chasing validation and start valuing peace. You learn that your energy is not meant for every space, it's meant for alignment, for reciprocity, for truth. You understand that love should never cost your inner harmony, and as you step deeper into your own presence, you begin to attract people and experiences that match your vibration, not drain it. Your absence from one place becomes your rebirth in another. You grow quieter, wiser, stronger, and in that quiet strength, you reclaim your power completely. The beauty of this journey is that everyone learns something. The ones who lost your energy learn appreciation, often the hard way. And you learn discernment, the ability to know where your energy truly belongs. You no longer move from a place of needing to be seen. You move from a place of already knowing your worth. That's where real power lives, not in being missed, but in knowing that your energy has impact even in absence. You start to see that walking away doesn't mean losing, it means elevating. It means allowing space for gratitude, awareness, and truth to emerge on both sides. So, when you're gone and they start to miss your energy, understand that this is the universe restoring balance. They learn what presence truly means, and you learn what self-respect truly feels like. Your energy becomes a message, one that says, I was never here to fill emptiness. I was here to awaken understanding. And as that message echoes through time, both you and they are changed forever. You walk forward lighter, freer, and more connected to your essence, while they remain reminded that genuine energy, your energy, doesn't just fade away. It leaves a mark that can never be replaced, only remembered deeply and endlessly. Thank you for being here, for listening, for feeling, and for allowing these words to reach a deeper part of you. This moment isn't just about learning how others respond when you're gone. It's about rediscovering the power of your own presence. Your energy is sacred. It's your signature, your vibration, your light, and the world feels it, even when you don't realize it. So, thank you for showing up for yourself today, for choosing reflection over reaction, and for remembering that your silence, your distance, and your peace all hold meaning. As we close, I want you to remember this truth. When you disappear, you don't lose your power, you return to it. The world might need your energy, but that doesn't mean you owe it to everyone. Your absence can be just as impactful as your presence when it comes from a place of self-respect. So take your time, protect your space. Let your energy flow only where it's cherished and understood, because when your energy is aligned, you don't chase, you attract. You don't prove, you radiate. I'm deeply grateful that you've shared this time with me. I hope these words remind you that you are not meant to dim your light for anyone who can't handle its warmth. Let your energy be your compass, guiding you toward peace, purpose, and people who value your vibration. So, as we part ways today, I want to leave you with one final thought. Your energy is not just something people feel, it's something they remember. Long after you've gone, your essence remains, echoing through the hearts of those you've touched. That's your legacy, that's your quiet power. Thank you once again for your presence, your openness, and your heart. Until we meet again, protect your peace, honor your energy, and never forget the power that exists in simply being you. Goodbye for now, and may your journey ahead be filled with strength, clarity, and unstoppable light.